there's always obstacles, there's adversity, there's difficulty around every corner. Maybe you're starting a new business and you're trying to figure out how to get through those obstacles. Maybe you've got an existing one. Maybe you've got employees you're trying to build a culture with, or maybe you're just trying to figure out how to get your finances right and be able to actually have enough money left over at the end of the month to invest and start growing your net worth and living an epic life with you and your family. So 10 ways to overcome adversity and thrive during hard times. And adversity can be defined a few different ways for a lot of people. Maybe it's losing a job. Maybe it's having a financial setback. Maybe you invested all your money in crypto and that hasn't quite come back for you. Could be a number of things. Maybe you're going through a physical injury or an illness. Maybe you've had a relationship go sour, divorce. There's poverty. There's losing a loved one. And then I'd say they're struggling within your career. And I'd also put, overcoming some of life's real big challenges like substance abuse and addiction. I was reading this book like I was telling you about. Jimmy Johnson, the former Cowboys coach, his son had a real problem with alcohol. And so wherever you're at, there's adversity that you're going through right now. And this article basically lists 10 ways to get through with that or to overcome it. What would you say, before getting these 10 methods to overcome adversity is important when you're going through adversity? You should do maybe before you even think, well, how should I overcome it? It's almost like first you need to come to terms with like reality is kind of what I'm thinking.
That's what I would say is understanding your adversity, kind of defining what you actually are going through and accepting it as a real thing. I think so many people are actually just in denial.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, you're in denial that you're in financial straits. Things are not good. Your income's gone down. Your expenses have gone up. The kids are more expensive. And you're literally using credit cards to stay alive. And you're literally going down a path towards bankruptcy. If you don't increase your income, cut some expenses, there are people in that camp. There are people who have a real problem and maybe a substance abuse problem. Maybe their alcohol is a real issue and it's affecting every area of their life, ruining relationships, jeopardizing their job at work, and they need to be able to be honest about that problem. So I think it's a good point. Number one, you have to actually before we get to these 10 solutions of dealing with adversity, you have to, number one, come to terms with reality. You're going through something difficult and you need to be honest about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that a lot. Not to judge people, but sometimes it's just so obvious. Like in a marriage, your marriage could really, really be struggling, but maybe you don't want to take the time or effort or energy to fix it. So you ignore the fact that you are going through adversity. And sometimes with business owners, same thing. The business is failing, but they put on this smiley face and act like nothing's wrong. And that's probably the worst thing you can do.
No question about it. You got to deal with the dirty stuff that's out there and fix it. So number one, you got to realize it's out there, be honest, live in reality. And then to start, going right along with that, number one, it says stop making excuses, right? You are where you're at because of one person, the decisions you made led you to adversity. And so when I think back to, when I was literally going bankrupt, businesses are failing. Yes, it's the 08-09 recession. Yes, it's one of the worst times that real estate had in the history of this country. And at the same time, it was my bad decisions that led me there. Until I could actually be honest with my own issues and shortcomings, I couldn't get that right.
Yeah, absolutely. And until you address the fact that I'm accountable for my own actions, you're not going to make a change, period.
100%. So number one, stop making excuses. Number two, it says to write your thoughts down, maybe talk with somebody, actually just, hey, here's what I'm going through. Here's what I'm feeling. And sometimes it's important to find someone to talk to about that. I remember watching an episode of Patrick Bet-David, and he was in a tough situation, I think, 2010. He and his wife had just had a miscarriage. He had put his life savings into his business, and they were down to $13,000 in the bank account from $500,000. He had to settle a lawsuit with his previous employer who sued him for starting his own business. And he couldn't go talk to his wife because she just had a miscarriage, and she's in a tough spot. And so he literally just found this psychiatrist somewhere and booked an appointment, and he talked for an hour. He felt better. Psychiatrist didn't say much to him, but it's important to be able to release, at least get it all out there, and then, okay, how can we move forward from there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think therapy can be a really, really good thing for a lot of people. Going to therapy does not mean that you are struggling. You could be a very, very successful human, and going to therapy can just help you get over one small little aspect or struggle that you're going through. The third thing on this list is to change your state of mind. And that's something we talk a lot about, because that is one thing that, unless you have like a severe mental illness, of course, there's situations, there's outliers, but the vast majority of us, changing your state of mind is a choice you get to make. It's that attitude decision that we talked about on the last podcast. So that's the next step to overcoming adversity is changing your state of mind, no matter what, having that positive attitude.
Amen. And next, stay disciplined. Like, put together a plan to get back on top of it. If you are struggling in your business and you know you need to start with, well, our sales have dropped, our product's not as good. Well, great, let's write it down. How are we going to improve the product or service? How are we going to provide a better experience? How are we going to generate more leads and more deals? At the end of the day, the one thing I remember before we started this company, I mean, I was in a tight spot because the previous company, I had to bring $100,000 in debt over with me. But I'd been here before, and so I'm like, I'm going to focus on sales. That's what we're going to do, and that's what we did. And when you focus on sales, all of a sudden within, I mean, it was literally, I think our third month, fourth month, we were already over $100,000 in sales because that's what we focused on, the sales. And so make that game plan and focus on it.
Absolutely. The next step here is to have a sense of humor, and this is something that, honestly, just doing little things like making the decision to smile can go a really, really long way. Like I first learned that in a sales job when I was a lot younger. It was just, smile more frequently on your phone call, and your tones, your attitude, everything's going to be lifted. Same thing with sense of humor. Force a laugh. Like, even if something's not that funny to you, just make yourself laugh and smile more often. And all of a sudden you'll find that you're a little bit more giddy. You're smiling more, you're laughing more. It's another one of those things. You just have to make the decision to do it. It's a choice, and then the results will follow.
Then the next thing they talk about is have faith. Have faith that you're going to come out of this. You're going to win. And it's interesting. I've been watching this documentary that my daughter recommended, and it's called From 0 to 100, and it basically researches, and they meet all these people who in these 5 areas of the world all live well beyond 100. And one of the common denominators or factors of why they all lived longer was they all had like this community of faith. They all had some sort of religious ideology. They went to church, or they got together with people, and they had a belief in a higher power. And because of that, somehow that helped them all be more successful, live through adversity, and have healthy, happy lives well into, some of these people were 115 years old, if you can believe it. And so interesting how important that is. And as you look at entrepreneurs, the same thing happened when Elon Musk was literally about to lose everything, but he had faith that he was going to get that last loan, which he got in 2009, and then the rest is history. Now he's the wealthiest person in the world. John D. Rockefeller had faith that he was going to create the biggest oil company in the world, which he did, which was Standard Oil. And it happened because he had this great faith, and he didn't get on this train that actually eventually derailed. Everybody died on it, and he just had this faith, and from that moment on, he just knew that there was a higher power that was going to help him. So even if that is or isn't true, whatever you believe, when you have that faith, magic happens.
Yeah, even if it's just that faith in yourself, that's
100%.
Very important.
Same
thing. The next reason here is to acknowledge your wins, right? Even the small ones. When you're really down in the dumps and you're struggling, getting even the slightest win of going to the gym, of saying no to the drink of alcohol that you're trying to quit, those small wins become contagious, and you start to understand what it feels like to win, and you want that more and more. So acknowledging your small wins is very, very important.
All right, then we've got don't take no for an answer. Don't take no for an answer, right? You're out there, you're trying to find a solution. You keep pushing until you find that solution.
Yep. Surround yourself with positive people. That's the next one here. And again, attitude, positivity, negativity, it's all contagious, right? If you are frequently surrounded by people, you will all start to have similar attitudes. You will all start to have similar beliefs because it is contagious. So it's so important that if you're down in the dumps, you're going through adversity, you need to be around people that will uplift you and bring you up.
Amen. I was just wrote this big quote out to my son, who's 14, and I'm like, all right, if you hang around 5 people that are constantly whining and complaining, you'll be number 6. If you hang around 5 people who are working hard, have big dreams, and want to accomplish a lot in life, you'll be number 6. If you hang around 5 people who are constantly, drunk, doing drugs, getting into trouble, guess what? You'll be number 6. And it is so true. You are the sum of the people that you hang out with the most.
Absolutely. And then the last one is spend time in nature.
I like this.
Yeah, I think it's just, whether it's nature or somewhere just private and quiet and solemn, like somewhere where you can actually just go out and compose your thoughts. That's kind of my take on it. Unless I'm missing something, I don't necessarily love to go out into the boonies and whatnot. But there's our alarm.
There's our timer, guys. It's time to talk about football.
Yeah. But Leo, you tell me, is that kind of the concept of the spend time in nature one? Or?
I think so, yeah. If you can get out there, one of the things that I like doing is getting out and going on a hike, or even just at work. Sometimes just leave your office and walk outside, for 10, 15 minutes. It does so much good to get outside, get some vitamin D, some sun on you, and get some motion out there. That was something else in this documentary on Netflix, by the way, which I highly recommend. All these people were very active. A lot of them didn't drive around in cars. They would walk to the store. They all had gardens they were tending to. They were always out in nature, just walking around, playing, having fun, doing things. They weren't just sitting at home watching TV, which is what a lot of retired people in the U.S. do. And that doesn't lead to happiness and success. And a lot of them die early, which makes no sense. And these people in Costa Rica, much poorer country, are living much happier, more healthy lives. They have a longer life expectancy than we do in the U.S. And I think nature plays a big role.
Awesome. Well, that's 10 things. Again, those 10 things to help you overcome adversity. I think it's a really good things. Even if you're not going through adversity, those are some really, really good things just to live a happier, more fulfilling life that you really need to consider.